everybody fit and well after the Hereford game first. How are we looking?
Well is the good part of the question. Fit and well is two different things. We because of the sacrifice that they gave over the Christmas period and the performance more than anything else, on Boxing Day, we rewarded the players with a couple of days off over the weekend. But they've come back and absolutely bang at it again in training today. It's unbelievable. The players have got to take their hat off to what they're doing. They're setting a great example and a great standard. I've sort of handed the standards over to them, having been here for just under a year. You try and bang a standards drum, but they're grabbing it. Just the mentality of the group at the moment is just grabbing hold of everything that we're throwing at them, and it's brilliant at the moment. As a manager, it's almost become a self-managed changing room. They're looking after each other, they're taking care of each other, they're finding each other. I just step out the way when they start doing that, and I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy anymore. But at the same time, you have to draw a line, and you've got to manage situations. You can't just keep saying same team, same sub, same tactics, because it becomes second guess by the opposition, and the element of surprise it still has to remain. We might have one or two tricks up our sleeves certainly in the next couple of games, and hopefully that'll bear fruit towards a decent January, because it's been a very good December.
It has, capped off by, I don't know if you believe in such a thing as a perfect performance, but it was almost near perfect against Hereford, wasn't it?
Is there such a thing as a perfect? I think there's got to be, isn't there? You score 3 goals at a local derby rival, and an away performance and a clean sheet to boot on Boxing Day in front of a full house. It's as good as it gets, But at the same time, I'm the guy who's got to be super critical, hypercritical, if you want to call it that, and say we could have had more. But I don't want to disrespect Hereford. It was a good game of football. It was a proper game of football at the start, and they knew they were in for not a mountain to climb, but when Brownie stuck that one in the top corner, I'm calling him Ronnie Radford now, and you guys will understand who Ronnie Radford is. He's got no idea. But it was typical of that Hereford goal that put Newcastle out the FA Cup back in the 70s, and obviously them guys weren't born. But Brownie stuck one in the top corner. Macca assures me, as an ex-midfield player, that Brownie's got double figures in him. And if that's the case, we're in for a good second half of the season, because he's on 3 now. So get to double figures. He's got to double what he's put in so far this campaign and more. And if that's the case, it's a target for Brownie. I mean, he's a joy to manage. He's a pleasure to play with. He's a pleasure to watch, and he's an easy player to manage. But is there such a thing, because when things go wrong, you've got to try and put them right. But I think he's listening to everything we're saying, and he's formed a decent partnership at the moment with Riley Reynolds, and he's keeping 2 very good central midfield players sitting on the backside, sitting on the hands in Jim and David. Experienced guys as well. But age is a number as far as I'm concerned. I just want to see the players enjoy themselves, and at the moment they are.
So we move on now. Top versus bottom. They're 12 adrift, Rushall Olympic, 21 points the difference. Does that make you feel nervous?
Yeah, it's a good question. Why should it make you feel nervous? But there's always an element of unknown and surprise coming out of their changing room. And it may be a player that's having a worldie, it may be a long range shot, it could be anything. But at the same time, I'm just knowing what I'm trying to coach and trying to teach and trying to educate and trying to manage at the moment coming out of our changing room. And they're, as I've said at the start, they're self-managing at the moment, and they're driving the standards, and I'll get a sense of that before the game. Tomorrow's a big day in terms of the tactical side of it, what Rushall can throw at us. We know the system that they'll play. Having lost the last 6 games, and everybody probably thinks it's a walkover, but far from it. That's when them wounded animals are dangerous. They might still be caged, but they're wounded and they're hurting, and we've got to prepare for that eventuality. And first goal, as I always say at this level, first goal is vitally important. The mentality of 2 sides can change on the toss of a coin. Basically, you get the first goal, and we can push on if necessary. But you don't get the first goal, and they've got something to hang on to. So we'll be prepared physically, technically, tactically, as we always are. But the mentality is got to be a similar one to the Hereford game.
Now, well, you're top of the league, as I say, and I don't know how big the target on your back's got to be, but surely that makes the target, if possible, on your back and on the team's back even bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's the only place to be, you know. You go through life with targets on your back as a player, ex-player, coach, manager, member of in the public eye, as it were. You go through your life like that. I was at the Ali Pally the other night at the darts, and I was coming home on a train, and Arsenal had just played Ipswich, and one or two targets on my back and on my front on the train, and having been a manager who's been to the Emirates and won the game, and wasn't saying too many kind words about Arsenal at that time, you know, sometimes things come back to haunt you, you know. But a target in the public eye is what you make of it yourself, and you've got to accept that when you're in the public eye, you've got to conduct yourself in the right manner. I get a funny feeling around Kidderminster at the moment. I've just been in Aldi, just getting some shopping in for to do me and Mac are doing a lunch thing, and I just get a sense that there's a little bit of anger around, you know. I don't know whether it's a governmental thing, you know, the change of government, the change of tax systems, stuff like that. I've got to be looking at these things and thinking about the people that are coming in through the turnstiles, you know, how much it's costing them. And the chairman's doing great deals at the moment for to try and fill the stadium, but I want the stadium full of happy people, and the way to put a smile on people's faces is to win a game, but play in the right manner if you possibly can, and that's what we're doing at the moment at Kiddie. We're doing everything we possibly can to put smiles on people's faces. Yeah,
now 2,000 already have put their names forward. They'll be here on New Year's Day, and that's made a big difference. I think it was 700, wasn't there, at Hereford?
Brilliant. Nearly 5 or 5,500, whatever it was, but 700 after the game, and they must have, I can't count them that quickly, you know, but when we were over the far side taking the plaudits, as it were, guaranteed there was still 700 there, you know, which is obviously you're doing your job properly, you know, you're filling a stadium first and foremost because of the proximity of the two clubs, but then playing football in the right manner. You know, the Hereford supporters, the majority of them had gone home, but there was still one or two applauding the way we played, but more importantly the 700 fans that travelled, probably having sacrificed a little bit, I should imagine. Not the same as what the players did, you know, not having any drink on Christmas Day, and probably had a lot to drink on Boxing Day, I would imagine, but certainly after a win. But that's our job, you know, that's what we class as our job, you know. We've got to get up in the morning and put smiles on people's faces, and if we can do that again on New Year's Day, it won't just be the drink that they've had the night before, it'll be the fact that we're playing good football.
Paul Caddy says you're the best team in the division by a country mile.
That's nice. We've heard that from quite a few managers, that we played the best football in the division, which is again a nice complimentary thing to say about a team that you've just beaten or you've just drawn with or whatever. But certain teams were coming here and putting a spanner in the works and saying the same things, you know, when we were losing games as well. It's nice when it comes out the managers or the opposition manager's mouth. But it's got to be after the game, it can't be before the game, you know. I'm not going to take any of that rubbish before games, but it came out the manager's game after the Hereford game, and hopefully the same will apply tomorrow. Well, I was going to say tomorrow, but on New Year's Day. Richard Sneakers, I believe, is the manager, somebody who Mac had played with back in the day at Bolton, and he was an exponent of the beautiful game. I think he's trying to play that way, there's no doubt about it. But when you're trying to get a tune out of a group of players that look at a league table and see that they're rock bottom, it's very difficult. He's got a difficult job on his hands, there's no doubt about it. But we are what we are, you know, and the league table doesn't lie. But at the same time, we've got to make sure over 90 minutes that the league table doesn't lie.
It's all about resolutions, New Year, Phil. Well, do you do that? And what's the aim for this lot here?
The New Year's resolution is to try and stay where we are and hopefully play football in a higher division next year. I took the job with that challenge in mind. I thought the club was big enough to do that. I thought the chairman was certainly big enough to do that. And where the finances and the running of the football club was concerned, absolutely the same. When we've had people like Sam Allardyce come to watch us work and train and play, and Brian Horton's coming this year, he guarantees me, and I've had some great news about my former assistant manager is now cancer free, and that frees him up to come to a game, so when he arrives there'll be a good turnout, and I better be on my best behaviour in that game, and the players better be on their best behaviour. But you know, when you get some of your colleagues that you've worked with and against coming here saying good things about you, that's normally a good sign that I can go home and sleep well at night. But I know the players are putting in everything that they've got at this moment in time to maintain what we're doing.
So the fans are in for a happy new year, fingers crossed.
I'm hoping so. There's a lot of hard work to be done. There's a lot of planning and preparation to be done, and there's a lot of football matches to be played and to be won and lost and drawn. But come the end of the season, if you're top of the table, it's because you've been the best team. It's no use managers saying it that you're the best team and you don't finish first. That's no good to me. I'll take the plaudits at the end of the season, but only after 46 games.
Right, Matty, you've got a question about one of the players.
There aren't obviously too many reasons for you to look beyond this season, but in terms of shaping your squad, Reese Devine, his news about staying beyond this season but for another season. Talk to me about why you kind of want to lock him in and the type of player he is.
I've looked at Reese since pre-season, and I've looked at a number of the players that have probably been playing, and I go back to my playing days, you know, when I was playing, I've had long-term contracts. Sometimes you rest on your laurels, you sit back, you've got another 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is. When you've got a short-term contract and when you've got a family behind that you've got to build and try and provide for, all of that puts into place how I was as a player at Hartlepool United back in the day. And when you get rewarded with new contracts, it's because you're doing a good job. Reece, since he's been here, he's set an example in pre-season in terms of the physicality side of it. He's set an example in terms of the technical side. I love a left footer. It has to be said, they're a rarity. I was a right footer, try and kick the ball with my left foot, I got no chance. But there's something about left footers I get drawn to. He was brought in originally to put pressure on Caleb Richards, who's probably one of our better players. Last season, he's proven again to be one of the most consistent players that we've got. But he's another full-back stroke wing-back, and now we've found out Caleb Richards can play one of the third centre-backs. There's room for change and movement in a team. I love my balance as well. So all of these things, Reese Devine has ticked the boxes. And long may that continue. I think he can play at a high level, and that's just a technical question mark I always say about players. If I'm bringing somebody in who's young enough, will he be able to go the next level and go the next level after that? And I think Reese Devine is one of them.
In terms of his momentum, the injury he had came at the worst possible time for him after he scored his goal, and that was on the back of 3 or 4 really good performances, and he's kind of having to edge his way back into a team that's going well. That's hard.
Strangely enough, Matty, you're saying his momentum, he was edging his way into the team to start off. Every time he was sitting on the bench, he was looking at Caleb Richard, another 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10 every week. He was looking at how am I going to get in, and then all of a sudden we shifted Caleb Richards to left-hand side centre-back and put Reese in there, and he grew a pair of wings, you know, and he started to fly with the team, and then a rich vein of form followed, and then you get the coincidences of, well, every time we win a game of football, he's in the team. It becomes individual, then it becomes a collective, and I think he's been accepted by the group, very much so. He's a family man, he's got some character about him, but again, tell me if he's a winger or a fullback, I don't know. But playing in this system that we're playing in, it fits in nicely for him. But unfortunately, he's still got Caleb Richards in front of him.